Hello, Enid, and welcome to another city update. I'm your host, Derrick Silas, and with me today is Assistant City Manager, Scott Morris. Welcome.
Glad to be here, Derrick.
Yeah, on this rainy day.
It's a rainy day, and hey, you can see our faces today. No masks.
Maskless.
So, last week the mayor and commissioners rescinded the City of Enid mask mandate, so that is no longer in effect. There are still some stores and some places of business out there that still want you to wear a mask, so be responsive to that and be kind to that. So that is something that we've done. Our city manager has put out a directive for the City of Enid buildings too, to say that, hey, that masks are voluntary now in City of Enid buildings. So that's something that some people were looking forward to not having to wear masks, and we're finally, the numbers are getting to a better place where we feel like we can do that. So that's great. Good news.
Awesome. Let's get into some road closures and emergencies. This morning, our department put out a press release about emergency water outage for East Pine Avenue and North 23rd Street. And they should be finished with that project probably around 4 or 5 p.m. today. So the people in those areas, just remember there will be a water outage in those areas because of the emergency. Number 2, Green Yard waste collection will begin April, which is next week, right? Or this week.
Coming up a few weeks.
Coming up soon. So just remember, usually in the summer we collect those on a different day. They'll be Mondays. Mondays. Yeah. And that'll start April 2nd. Okay, and then we have opportunities to serve, for the community to serve on a lot of the City of Enid boards and commissions. You can see the press release we released about a week or two ago, and that deadline will be March 29th.
A lot of vacancies there, so hopefully We'll get some interested people that are ready to step up and help.
Yep. And there's a closure on 1005 North 13th Street for concrete repairs. This was released last week as well. And as you can see, those areas, the little small area, is the area that will be affected, just one side of the street. So just remain cautious in that area as they do that work. And then we have a closure on Independence and Gary area for concrete repairs as well. And that's the little area there, and they're working on that. It's really at the by the Enid Public Schools. Call it little place. Education.
Right across the street from where we are right now.
Right. Yep. So if you can go on another street in order to get to that area. Street closure at 415 South Harrison Street and Alley is another one that we released last week. And there's the area that you can see there. That part will be closed. Just remember to bypass that area to get to your destination. And then we have Grand and Garriott power pole relocation, which will happen this week, and that was released this morning as well. OG&E will be doing some work there in preparation for another project that I think the city will be doing, the engineering department will be doing. So
yeah, we're working on some redoing those corner nodes and getting the lights all redone over there. So that's good. Going to improve that intersection greatly. Yes.
And that's all for those releases. But if you haven't had a chance to go by the Enid Public Library, this is still the month for women's history. So you can go ahead and go over there and look at the exhibition they have over there, which is pretty nice. And coming up next Saturday, April 2nd, will be the Enid Egg Fest. And it's going to be really fun. There'll be prizes. They'll have, you can take a picture with the Easter Bunny, and I guess a Miss Easter Bunny too. It's going to be a he and she Easter Bunnies. And you can win prizes. They'll be in categories 0 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 7, and 8 to 10. They'll have prizes. Bicycle, Easter basket, teddy bears, things of that nature.
You know, Easter has always been one of my favorite holidays, and you know, I know for a lot of people it's a special weekend, it's a special day, and even these silly Easter egg hunts are so cool, you know. And after this last year of people just not being able to be in community, this is a great way that the City of Enid can put something out there to say, hey, let's start some new memories, let's start a new tradition. This will be fun, so let's get out there with our families and enjoy enjoy. Hopefully we'll get some good weather, and this ought to be a great opportunity just to get out and enjoy being outside.
Yep. I think I said April 2nd, but it's actually that Saturday, which is April 3rd.
The 3rd, yeah.
Also, those bigger prizes like the bicycle will go to those who get the golden egg. So
Ooh.
you won't know it until you open it up whether it's a golden egg or not. So that'll be fun for those kids. Let's move to this is the time of year where the utility rates go up between January and March. So let's just talk about water. Let's talk about what's going on with water. During the February cold water, there was a noticeable difference in water consumption across the city. Let's talk about that.
Sure. One of the things that happens whenever it gets cold like this is people start to drip their faucets. Mm-hmm. That actually, most people don't see a big jump on their bill from just dripping their faucets and things like that to try to keep their pipes from freezing. When we talked about conserving water back during this cold snap, it was really mostly because we were fighting main breaks. And we were losing a lot of water through main breaks, and so conservation from households helps some, but it just to fight against all of the main breaks that we had to repair, and really we did have some questions, and people were wondering, especially with gas and electricity, those prices rising and all of the talk about that during this cold snap. We looked back and looked at several Februarys and Januarys in the 2 or 3 years before this one, and really we were within 3% of the last year. So rates went up a few percent, and our usage was within 3%. So we were really, most people should have just not really seen an increase on their statement in between January and February. Because of consumption. If you look at your consumption numbers, now we did have a rate increase of 2% in January, so that did happen too. So,
okay, what is the process if people have had a water leak in their home? How do they get adjustment from the city?
So, if you did have a leak, because of this cold snap or because of any other type of water leak that you've had, when you've got leaks that run into the ground or they don't go into the sewer, then what our typical adjustment will be is if you've had a repair done, if you've called a plumber out and they've made a repair, you can bring that with you to the utility department or scan it in and email it to the utility department. And what they will do is, let's say you had a leak and you had 20,000 gallons water consumption, but your normal usage may only be 5,000. What we'll end up doing is you still have to pay for the water that was leaked out, but all of the sewer and sewer improvement rates, which is about half of your bill, will back that off to, if your average was 5,000, we'll reduce your sewer and sewer improvement by 15,000 gallons in that example. So we would take it back to the average. That usually takes at least half the bill away, half the sting away. So if it's a leak that went through the toilet where it went into the sewer, then there's not really an adjustment we do on that because that water still went through the sewer. We still had to process all of that water into our sewer system and still process that out and clean it out. So
okay,
that's what the process is. The utility service department handles those, and like I said, if you've had your leak repaired, you're going to need to bring a copy of that repair bill with you so that they can prove that we got some repair that was completed.
Okay. Are there any resources available to help people with water bills during the pandemic and with the emergency repairs?
Yes. There are organizations like CDSA and Hope Outreach, especially that deal with emergency repairs. And so even pandemic aside, if you've got some major, $1,500, $2,000 repair that you need to make to your home because you've got a water leak, if you qualify, you can call these guys and they might be able to help you out and contact someone for you and get those leaks repaired for you so that you can stay in your home, and that won't contribute to homelessness or some kind of a bad situation where you just can't afford hotel rooms, and we've got to take care of our kids and our families, and so these guys can help with emergency repairs that way, and just with high bills. If you're behind on your bills, if you've unable to pay them, because you've had an event, you've lost a job, or because of the pandemic, reach out to these guys. They will see if they can help you if you qualify.
Okay.
They have the city of Enid has actually distributed some federal funding and actually some state funding that was given to the city of Enid for whatever we need to do. We've put out a lot of money to these organizations, and there have been several different disbursements. And I know a lot of people in Enid have been helped for rent and for utilities, by these organizations during the pandemic. So, thank you for all that you do. The city of Enid, we were able to provide some funding, but these guys have put forth all of the work to administer those funds and contact those citizens who need help, and so they have been an outstanding partner for the city of Enid. So thank you for all those organizations out there that help.
Okay. Now, sometimes when people have high water bills, it's because of leaks, as we discussed, and sometimes it's just high consumption.
Yeah.
What are some ways that residents can lower that consumption?
There's a few different ways. One of the things I would suggest is behavioral changes. I know I've had two teenagers in the house that have taken long showers, and there are some things we can do that are simply behavioral things to say, hey, instead of a 45-minute long shower, hey, how about 10 minutes? You should be able to get the job done in 10 minutes. Or even things like maybe instead of throwing a third of a load of laundry and running that through, wait till you have a full load. There's some minor things that we can do that are just behavioral changes, and then there are other things that we can do. For instance, going back to taking showers. Most every shower head sold at Lowe's now only allows about 2.5 gallons a minute to go through it. Mm-hmm. But a lot of older shower heads, it can be maybe as much as 10 gallons a minute. And I know that we like our pressure and we like a lot of water during showers, but consider if you do take a 30-minute long shower or a 20-minute long shower, how much water you end up saving at 2.5 gallons a minute versus 10.
Right.
It can add up really quickly. And so just some things we can change as far as fixtures, we can do that. When we remodel houses, most every toilet now is only about 1.5 gallons for a flush, and some of the old ones are like 5-6 gallons for a flush or so. So some little changes that can be made that will help that really aren't behavioral things, but as you maybe fix your house up, just think about making some changes to your home. So those are some things we can do. The other thing is just maintenance. If you notice you've got an outside leaky faucet, get it fixed. Whenever it isn't a problem, whenever it isn't an emergency, and you have the time, a leaky faucet, man, you can get those little washers at Lowe's for, I think, $1. They're not that expensive to fix. But the biggest culprit of all is toilets.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what's really bad about toilets is you can't hear it. Sometimes you can. If you can hear it, then you've got an issue. And man, you can get a whole new flush valve kit for about $15. And if you've ever had a one time where your toilet has failed, and you've gotten that utility bill that was higher, hey, $15 is a deal. So try to stay on top of some of those things. Some of the other behavioral things I can think of is if your house is vacant. There are so many times where water problems and leaks happen at vacant properties, and you would think, well, that shouldn't be a big deal, but nobody's there, nobody's watching it. And so going back to the toilet, somebody could flush the toilet, walk out of that house, nobody's there, nobody can hear it. 2 weeks in a row of the toilet running, and wow, there's a huge utility bill.
That's something to think about.
Things like that. So,
okay, speaking of toilets, how much does a running toilet or leaking faucet cost in the long run?
So yes, things to think about. So here's a toilet. I'll give you a little example on a toilet. I've seen toilet leaks. We have some amazing software to help us in our customer service department. So we can see these little trends, and we can basically look at a computer screen and almost tell you pretty close what's going on in your home. But you can see when a toilet is bumping and filling up 1.5 gallons, every 15 minutes. We might see 5 gallons an hour. And that's just a toilet that's just barely refilling itself a couple times an hour or something like that. But what happens, and it's happened to me before too, is that little flush handle, it's got a chain attached to it normally into the bowl. And sometimes it can just be the chain kinked, or it could be, you know, that seal at the bottom of the that's just not sealing well. But when that water is just continually cycling through the toilet, it can be as much as like 150 gallons an hour going through that toilet. And start to do the math on 150 gallons an hour, and it adds up to a lot. I'm not going to try to do math since we're live here, but you know, it can devastate your utility bill, where you go, wow, I've got a $300 bill a month, wow, for a leaky toilet, easily, and I've seen higher than that. So,
because the base rate is 1,000 gallons.
Yeah.
Okay.
We bill by 1,000 gallons.
Okay. So many people may be wanting to know this, residents that is, how accurate is our meter readers?
You know, our meters have to be within 1.5% accuracy, and that's an ANSI standard. This meter in front of us, it meets that standard. That's what most of us have, is a 5/8 inch meter. It's at least 98.5% accurate, and you know, I have had people question the accuracy of our meters, wondering, you know, am I being overbilled? Am I being overcharged? And you know, probably 15 or 20 times that I've done personally, I've pulled meters out of the ground and put a brand new one in, and the same exact problem still persists. Their bill stays the same, and we find out that there's really nothing that was wrong with that meter. It was just, you know, hard to find
With the
toilet
problem.
leak, or hard to find, you know, plumbing problem in the house.
Okay.
To deal with. Yeah, these meters stay accurate, and really over time what happens is the mechanical parts that are in them, there's a disc inside the meter that spins as water goes through it, and over time that the tolerances of that might start to wear out, and it usually benefits the customer. Almost any time over age that a meter starts to be inaccurate, it's maybe only, you know, measuring 80% of the water that goes through it, so the customer's getting a benefit out of that. So that's usually the case. We do have, I've only had to do it just a few times, but there is a third-party company that we can send a meter to and have it tested to see. And you know, we have done that occasionally just to monitor our system. You know, we pulled, probably several years ago, we pulled about 50 of our meters and sent them out for accuracy, and they are actually performing still very well, because just most of you may not realize, but most of these meters like this is, you know, a newer style AMI meter made from Neptune, and we installed these back in 2010. So these meters have been in the ground for about 10 years. And it's about time for us to start going back through and putting some new meters in the ground. AMI just means that, you know, these have got this antenna on top. So instead of having to send a meter reader out to read those meters, you know, it sends in a signal back to our admin building and back to the servers that we can get a reading on these, and it helps the customer out, because instead of just getting one read once a month, we're getting a read on their meter every day. Yeah. And in the middle of that daily cycle, we're even getting 15-minute intervals where we know how much water is going through it in an interval. So a lot more data than we used to have before.
Very good. Now, talking about these, what part of the water delivery system is the city responsible for?
All
what
right.
part is the customer responsible for? When you
I'm going to bend down here a little bit.
Okay.
And, you know, if there's a water main over here on this side and water's coming in, it'll be coming into the meter this way. It'll be flowing in. It'll hit a valve here so we can turn it on, change the meter off so that customers can turn their water off if they have an emergency. And then it flows through the meter here. And so everything is the City of Enid's responsibility to here. Then it flows through the meter and down. This is called an outlet riser, and it flows down through here. And then right here is where it connects into your line. And so You are responsible from your line onto your house, and the city is responsible for everything else. And so sometimes there's even leaks that are within the meter can itself, and the city will be responsible for anything through the end of that outlet riser where it connects onto the customer line, and then it's on the customer's responsibility to repair that. So if you've got a water coming out of the top of your meter, if you want to have the City of Enid check that out for you, we can determine whether that's something that we need to fix or it's something that the customer might be responsible for and need to call a plumber to help with that. And obviously on those leaks where there's a leak in that little piece from the meter to your line, if there was a leak there, then you would be billed for water on something that we're responsible for. And so in that case, and during those leaks, then when we do those adjustments that we were talking about previously, that's a case when we do take all of the water out and back that off to your average, because you shouldn't have to be billed water for a leak that's on a piece of equipment that we are responsible for.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you have any success stories with residents where they had high consumption or just a solution to high consumption problems?
We have really tried to be customer friendly with people that have issues, and I know I personally have been out on a number of calls and helped people. I can remember back to one where, again, this was a vacant home, and he had the water turned on in the home. There was no heat to the house, and there ended up being a line that was broken underneath the house. Well, this guy ended up with a very high bill, and came and he was upset about the bill, and it was a situation where I was able to drive out there and turn on the water long enough to see, oh yeah, there's water flowing freely like crazy, and walked over to where I knew the water went into the house just based on the location of the water meter, and you could hear the water. So we went and turned it off, and the man grabbed a flashlight, and we were able to just look in a crawl space and shine the flashlight in there, and sure enough, right there underneath the house in the crawl space where the water feeds into the house, you could see a pipe that was broken and water, that had just come out of it. And so that's just an example of a time where someone's got a high bill, they've got a leak, and we were able to go out, and I need to make a disclaimer. The City of Enid Utility Department is not a plumbing service, okay?
Right.
We can't go into your house and tell you what's wrong with your home and give you suggestions on how to fix it, but a lot of times we can use that data and we can help you to figure out what type of problem that you might have.
Right.
A more common thing that I've helped out a lot with is people trying to determine, do I have a leak in my toilet because I've got this spiky bill that keeps happening and I don't understand. So there's been so many examples where I've gone out, talked to the customer. We have looked at the meter, watched the dial on the meter to see consumption. And if we can see that there's consumption while they say they've got everything off, then I've had them several times go in and turn the valve off to a toilet, and then they can walk back out there and see, oh yeah, it quit moving. So it had to have been that toilet that I just turned the water off. So there's a lot of stories where we've helped people just by standing out there looking at the meter and having them turn off different things in the home, where we've been able to help them kind of diagnose what they might need to fix or what they might need to call a plumber to help them fix. So those are a few success stories that we've had.
Awesome. Good customer service. Who can residents contact if they have issues with their water bill?
Yes. So we've got our utility services department. You can call them. They've got 4 representatives that will help. The utility services manager is Sarah Del Angel. She can help you with what you need. Like I said earlier, if you've had some type of a leak that you've had a repair on, please bring any documentation that you might have in. They can look at that and see if they can help you. And finally, I have confidence that department will help you with anything that you need. And I have high confidence that Sarah will look at your problem and give you good solutions. But I want to make myself also available. If you have contacted utility services and you still feel that you need a little more help, reach out to me. I'd be glad to look at your bill or look at your problem and see, is there anything else? Is there any rock we haven't overturned on how we can help you? I will be glad to try to do that for you. So
awesome.
Those are the ways that we can you can contact people. And I think they popped up a graphic just a minute ago. There's a number of different ways. You know, we were talking about making your payments and who can help you if you've had a bad time. We have a number of ways that you can make your payments here. All of these different phone numbers. We've got the drop box. You can come in and pay in person. You can pay online. But I want to remind people that we don't charge a fee for any of the payments that we collect. But there are some online people that say that they collect for the city of Enid. There are other services in town that might collect utility payments that do charge a fee. I don't want to get into their business, but almost all of those, there's a delay between the time you pay and we get our money.
Yeah.
And so I would highly suggest that you utilize one of our payment methods. That way, especially if you've got a notice on your bill and you're concerned that your water might get shut off, you know, come by. If you're to that point, come and pay in person just to make sure that your water's not going to get turned off. So we've got a lot of great ways to pay, and you know, I want to reach out and say, hey, thank you for the cooperation from the citizens that you've given to the city of Enid. We have changed over our utility system in December, and that ended up with a different payment system that we use for online, and that transition has been a little shaky, a little bumpy, and so thank you guys for hanging with us. We are getting solutions to almost all of those issues, and there's just a few little things left that hopefully we'll have ironed out in the next few weeks. And so thanks for being patient with us through that time. And like I said, reach out if you've got any questions about your water bill or anything, and I'd love to help.
Very good, Scott. Let's get into one of the best parts of the update, and that's talking about our departments. So let's talk about human resources. There are a number of positions open, a lot of positions open. So you can always go to enid.org/careers and apply for any of these positions. We still need a network specialist, one of the big ones, or assistant city clerk, police officers, and some other ones that are on there we're really in need of. Also, there are internship opportunities from the communication department here, public utilities, and environmental services, all looking for interns. So,
I wanted to go back and just hit too. You know, we've got the pool that everybody loves and enjoys.
Yeah.
And you know, last year I don't think we really got to do much with the pool at all. But we need to hire some lifeguards. So if you know lifeguards, send them to us. We would love to interview them and have that pool staffed so that we can be as open just as much as we can. So that has sometimes been a challenge, is to find the right people for lifeguards. So if you know some, send them our way. We'd love to be able to utilize them and pay them well and have that pool open as much as we can.
We need at least 18, but 20 would be better.
Yes.
So yeah, we need a good number of them, so that would be awesome. So yes, lifeguard and head lifeguard position is available. Also, let's go back to the human resources. Not only the internships, they have 3 internships, but they also, last week for St. Patrick's Day, even though they didn't get to do it St. Patrick's Day because it was so rainy, they had to schedule it the next day on Thursday. However, there was a St. Patrick's Day run, and there are a number of employees that participated in it. Wanted to give a good shout out to them for that. Then we have fleet management. Fleet management group, always taking care of all of our fleet. That includes the police and what have you. So here's a crew applying decals to a truck in the city's fleet. Then we have Parks and Rec. Here the crews are grinding Champlain Pool, the bathhouse portion, the floors for resurfacing. And they'll start preparing. I think they'll be putting water in there sometime in May, and they'll start opening sometime in May. That's usually around May when they open. So good job, guys. Then we have stormwater and roadway maintenance. Here are crews continuing to lay asphalt on North Kennedy Street from East Princeton to East Cornell.
We're going to see a lot more of that during 2021 and 2022. We've hired some additional staff, and we hope to keep this process of improving some of these asphalt roads going strong. So hopefully we'll see that all over town. Hopefully there'll be press releases going out saying, hey, progress is being made over here. And so if you've got a chance to go drive around over there in that area around Rock Island Boulevard and Ramsey's, they've done a lot of asphalt roads over there in the last month. So they're going to be finishing up a few more. I think they've got Shady Lane. They've got a big section over by Warren Cat and Waco over there, that offshoot of 81. And then I think they've got a lot planned in the Southern Heights neighborhood that they're going to be going to next after that. So they'll be busy.
Yep. And just to remind the residents, you can go to enid.org/road projects, and it will show you all of the projects we've done in this fiscal year and the ones that are planned for the next fiscal year. So also technical services, let's talk about technical services. Here you can see crews replacing street markings at South Cleveland and West Orange Garrett.
This is the time of year in the spring where, they are going to be out painting galore.
Oh, yeah.
So, usually through the winter it's too cold, and then, snow plows and different things like that are not good on the road markings. And so be on the lookout for these guys. They're not driving as fast as you are. They're trying to go out there and improve the road. So be careful around them and give them the thumbs up when you drive by.
Right. And be sure not to pass them because the paint will get on your tires and it will distort. It'll make smudges on the road and all of that. So be patient if you're behind them. Let's talk about solid waste. So solid waste, shout out to them for using a new track hoe to load the grinder at the landfill.
Yeah, in the background there, you can't see it very well, but there's a brand new John Deere excavator that's a little bigger than the last one we had, and that cat excavator was on its last leg, and all of these tree debris that we've had at the landfill, that is a necessary piece of equipment. So those guys were able to get a new one, and they're out there getting busy with it.
Next department, utility maintenance. Here, utility maintenance is repairing a service line on Randolph. And as you can see, the number of work orders they've had in the past week, they've done 42 meter leaks and repairs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggie number, but you can see they had sewer calls, dirt work, and other water mains. The next department is water production. And with the water production, the pumpage for the week was 47,566,170 gallons. And here is a crew member troubleshooting at well site D33. So shout out to those guys keeping our water going. And next we will talk about some numbers of coronavirus. You mentioned earlier, the number is going down. So we're at 149 active cases in Enid. That's really good.
It keeps going back down. I think about 10 or 11 days ago, it fell below 200 for the first time.
Yeah.
And I think we looked back at some of our data, and it was sometime in the middle of August the last time that it was 200, because it's been climbing ever since.
Yeah.
The peak day was around January the 8th, and man, we're doing good, and the hospitals are doing well all across the state of Oklahoma. It isn't just Enid, so the numbers are trending well. Hopefully, last week was spring break here in Oklahoma, so hopefully we're not going to see an uptick of any kind. But I think that hospital administrators feel fairly confident. The numbers are down low. Their hospital is staffed like they were pretty much pre-COVID, where they're ready to go for all the med-surg cases that come in this time of year. So
pretty good.
That's good.
So 149 active cases in Enid and 157 in Garfield County. And I imagine we're in phase 3 now, right?
Yes.
So,
matter of fact, I'm going to go get my first vaccination tomorrow morning at 8:15.
Very good.
So those of you that are in phase 3, get signed up. There are a lot of spaces available. You can go to I did mine on the vaccinate.oklahoma website. That's how I got to mine. And here's a little tip for you. Whenever it's your turn, they'll send you an email, and they send you this code. Don't put the code in. Just click on the link when you get that email, and you'll have to verify your birth date. And don't try to put a code in. Hit the button, and it'll let you schedule something.
Very good. Awesome. Good tip. Well, anything else to add?
I'm excited about spring. This time change has just been good for me.
Oh.
I don't know why I've had kind of a hard winter. I guess I've just kind of been down in the dumps a little bit. But with this time change in spring, I'm just excited.
You can bicycle. Right.
I love to be outside and bike and be on the trail, and so, I'm just positive, and I'm excited about what's going on in Enid this spring, and we got a lot of good things going on. So get involved. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of open boards for you to be involved in, and we've got some good things happening in Enid. So stay tuned.
And don't forget, next Saturday, the Easter Enid Egg Fest will be there at Crossland Park.
On April the 3rd.
April 3rd. Saturday, April the 3rd. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us, Enid, and join us next week at 1:30 for another city update. Have a great day.